This is the Best or Worst podcast. And now, here are your hosts, Koji Stephen Sakai and M. Martin Mapoma.
All righty. Welcome. This is episode number 57, and I'm Koji.
And I am Martin.
And this is the Best or Worst podcast. So we're super excited. This is part 2 of this week's episode. So our society is so focused on celebrity, we sometimes forget that regular people lead interesting lives too. Best or worst moment of your life, hosts Koji, that's me.
And host Martin, that's me.
Are here to let your story out. We put people on the spot. What are you going to hear? It could be funny. It could be poignant. It could be sad. You'll know when we know. Best or Worst is a twice weekly podcast on Tuesdays. That's 2 days ago. We got to know our guest, Margaret. She's also on the screen here. And on Thursdays, which is today, we find out their best or worst moments. So welcome back, Margaret.
Hi, thanks.
Margaret.
We just, it feels like we just saw you a second ago.
I know, it's crazy, right? Margaret's like, what's happening right now?
This is the moment in the show where we ask people about their best or worst moment. And Margaret, before we ask you, just usually what we do is when we ask people, we're like, don't choose like getting married or having a baby, because those are like, those are pretty things.
They're great moments, but it's too easy.
Yeah, we're looking for something that's like a little, like not, unless there's something amazing about, like something that happened that is so amazing that makes it a little bit different. That's cool. But Martin, do you want to hear Margaret's best or worst moment?
I want to hear Margaret's best moment.
You always want to hear. Let's do a worst moment.
No, I don't.
Every episode I ask you, you want to say best moment. So I'm gonna override you. I'm overriding you.
Override. Okay.
We're gonna ask
Worst.
Margaret her worst moment. Margaret, what is your worst moment of your life or day?
I think that I'm glad I didn't have to do the best, because I could only think of birth, and now I have 3 kids. I'm like, which one would I have chosen? Like, that would have been unfair. So my mom died of a heart disease, and she was sick while I was young and like always fatigued and couldn't really be that active. And so the doctors thought it was because she had scarlet fever in Japan, which she did. And they didn't really know what was wrong. But then my brother got diagnosed with a heart condition, and he called me and he said, this appears to be a genetic condition, and our other brother was having heart problems too, and you should go get tested. And he told me what to look for, which was an irregular heartbeat. And so
Do you need a moment? Are you okay? We could pause.
I needed a moment.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I found out that I had it too. And it was on the one hand, it was better to know about it because it could be treated and managed, unlike my mom's. And my kids get tested for it. We get echoes. It's called non-compaction cardiomyopathy. Oh, my nose got really red. That's the worst thing about Zoom. Like, you can see yourself doing these things. So then I had to get an ICD pacemaker, which is a big deal because you have it forever, and it's unpleasant to deal with, but it's better than the alternative. They found that I had an irregular heartbeat that would have caused sudden death. Wow. So the heart tissue gets spongy, and then because of that, it can have an irregular heartbeat, not pump out as much blood, and then get bigger and bigger until it just doesn't work at all anymore. Or it can just suddenly fail entirely because the spongy tissue is just like a blob that doesn't work right. But it's interesting because you can have a lot of spongy tissue, but a normally functioning heart, or you can have a little spongy tissue and a really sick heart. So it just varies depending on the person. The disease is pretty newly discovered. And then I got genetic testing, but my brother and I didn't have the anomaly on the gene that usually has the anomaly. We had a different anomaly that's on a gene that's in Asians. So they were like, we don't know if this is it, but it's probably it. But it's not the one we normally test. So that was interesting. But yeah, and then after that, I had a procedure to like zap away the parts of the heart that were malfunctioning electronically. So they like burned those things away, and then my heart functions normally now. It has normal function. I don't have to take any medicine. I still have to have the ICD because with this, even if your heart's functioning normally one day, the next day the spongy tissue could just fail, and that's that. So I actually have more comfort, I think, and safety with having the ICD, because it's like, if anything happens to me, for example, even if I got COVID or something and my heart started having problems like a lot of people do with COVID-19, it would like pace me back into regularity. So I'm probably safer than the average person now. But hearing that was very hard, obviously. Because it's like the one big fear that I had growing up and that my mom had for us.
Wow. I feel bad. We should have asked you about your best moment.
You know,
I didn't think I would be emotional because I've had this for.
And
like,
so
can I ask you a question real quick, if you don't mind, Margaret? Did you find out before you had kids or after you had kids?
After.
After? Okay.
Yeah. So that was another thing. Like I felt like, oh, I wish I'd known this before. I had difficult pregnancies too. Like I had.
That's what I was kind of curious about.
Yeah, and they were like, we don't know why your pregnancy is difficult. Like, why are you so tired all the time? And it's because the extra blood flow that you get from being pregnant is hard on the heart.
Yeah.
And has this changed your outlook on life and family and?
I mean, it was very difficult to accept, and it's still like it's sad to think about. It's probably, my kids are now saying they're probably not going to have kids,
Wow.
biological kids, because they don't want to pass this on.
How old are your children?
My youngest is almost 15, and I have an 18-year-old and a 21-year-old.
Wow.
Wow. Yeah. Okay. I did not think you could have to. Well, I thought you were going to say 2 and 3, and
No.
You look great for your age. I'm not going to ask you your ages, but I was not expecting that. Wow.
Wait, what was the question?
Oh, just how it has affected your family and your thoughts in terms of your,
I think that once I was able to kind of accept that I had this, like it's not really any different than going around and not knowing if you have like a predisposition for cancer, or if you're going to get hit by a bus tomorrow. Like anything could happen. You have to accept the unknown. And it's funny because, everybody has a vision for their future, and you envision yourself like, I'm going to live to be old. I'm going to go on these trips and be healthy and everything. But that could still happen for me. I don't know that's not going to happen. And even though before I knew about this, I thought that I was going to be healthy and go on trips. That wasn't necessarily true. So like right now, a lot of people are uncertain about their futures. But the future has always been uncertain. So I'm choosing to have a positive attitude about it, just as I would if I didn't know about it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Sure. That's great. That's cool.
Wow. I'm speechless.
So am I. So am I.
Well, because the only reason I ask about the relationship, my wife, she went through this really big cancer scare where the doctor was basically like, you guys should write a will, kind of thing. And I was like freaking out because my son was like 6 months old or something. And it was really kind of early in the process of just having a child. And I just remember thinking, like, when she eventually got through it and she's alive today, that it changed how that like time was to me. Because before, her and I were really busy people and we would never go on vacation. We'd always like pass on vacations and pass on doing stuff together because we were just so busy. But then after that scare of like her going through chemo and everything was like, no, we need to go on vacation, even if it's just like to San Diego or, like if it's just to like Santa Barbara, we need to like go on vacation. And
that explains why you're super dad, dude.
Yeah. Well,
no, it does, because I always ask, and even one of the jiu-jitsu dads, we were always just like, man, he is just, you're on it. And, and I remember thinking it's as if, you're not going to be there the next day. And that makes total sense.
Because, no, it's because my dad was sick all my life. My dad took care of me. And kind of like Margaret's mom, my dad had a heart disease and stroke, and he was literally my main caretaker. And so I had a really close relationship with my father, but because I always thought he was going to die, and he died also when I was like 20. He died and he passed away, and it was very like it was a very difficult time for me because my father and I were super, super close. So me and my son have a similar.
I did not know that.
Similar relationship, yeah. Like my dad's sickness like basically ruined my 20s in terms of like trying to deal with
selfish. I'm just kidding.
No, just like I'm kidding. All the effects of it, just having to like outlive him and just everything. But anyway, we're not talking about it's not my best or worst moment, so I'm gonna but in terms of like in terms of your worst moment, what would you have wanted to tell yourself before you found out? Would there be anything you would want to do differently? Or
and how long ago did you find out?
It's been about 10 years.
Okay.
And then I had a pacemaker put in 5 years ago. So initially I had a cardiologist who wasn't really familiar with the disease, and he was like, "Oh, just come back if you faint." Like,
oh my God. Are you serious?
And then when I got my kids at Children's, I was talking to that cardiologist, and he said, "You should go see Dr. Adler at UCSD because he does research in this." So I switched to him, and he was the one who like did more tests and was like, "You need to get this other thing going on."
Don't wait until you faint. Oh my God.
Wow.
Yeah. So Dr. Adler has actually co-authored studies about this disease, and even though it's rare, I think he has like 13 patients with it.
Okay.
So he's probably better versed in it than other doctors anywhere. So I felt more comfortable with him. I think I would have told myself, I love my kids, but I probably would have had like maybe one child, because the first pregnancy, and it's also probably better that I started younger because I was able to like overcome.
Sure.
My mom was older when she had me, like she was in her 40s. So I probably would have had one kid instead of 3.
And then you could have said birth was your favorite because you'd only have one, right?
That's right.
Oh, wow. So you said you have a pacemaker. Is that what you were talking about before? Is that the layman's term for what you have? Is it a pacemaker, or do you have two different?
It's an ICD pacemaker, so it's an implantable cardiac defibrillator. So it's like having the paddles.
Yeah. How is it? So, I'm sorry. Is it big, small?
I can show you the scar. I think you can see it in this. So I had it implanted here.
Sure.
It's under the muscle, so you can't really see it.
Okay.
And initially they put it on top of the muscle, and it was painful because I don't have a lot of flesh here, I guess. So the doctor redid it a couple years later and put it under the muscle. And then initially when they put it in, they use through these they're wires that come up from the pacemaker and go into an artery and then down into the heart. So I can actually feel wires here.
Oh, wow.
And then the wires stick into the heart. Initially they use the wires that don't have a barbed hook, but they were supposed to because of the fleshy or the spongy tissue.
Mm-hmm.
So the wires fell out after the first procedure. So I've actually had that procedure done 3 times.
Oh no!
Gee, wow.
Wow.
How does that? So and again, does that affect like physical activity? Are you cautioned against working out, doing things like that, or?
I'm not supposed to get my heart rate above a certain amount, and so it's usually pretty manageable. I might be a little bit slower about like hiking than other people.
Sure.
But I can pretty much do anything except like run triathlons or be really competitive.
Yeah.
You don't want to run triathlons anyway, so it's okay.
No, I didn't want to anyway, so I was like, okay.
Because
now I have an excuse.
Yeah, you do. My mother was in somewhat of a similar situation, because she passed away, a while back, but she had TB as a child, and when she was growing up, that was just a death sentence. But she survived it, but it damaged her lungs and her cardiovascular system, and so yeah, I can relate in that regard because she always had to watch what she did. She couldn't, get her heart rate up above a certain level, and she had to watch that physical activity. It was just,
Well,
but she managed.
Yeah, with this, if my heart rate does get up too high and it stays high, then the pacemaker part will shock it, so it goes back down. And then if it tries shocking it like 3 times and nothing happens, and it gives you the big shock to like reboot your heart.
Oh my goodness!
Oh wow! So is this wow? So is this something that where the technology is constantly improving?
Yes.
Okay.
Can I ask a random question?
Sounds like you're in very good hands. It really does.
Do you have trouble going through metal detectors or anything? Does that?
No. The funny thing is that a lot of things say, oh, you can't do this if you have an ICD, because they just don't want to deal with the legal ramifications.
Yeah.
And I'll ask the doctor and he'll be like, well, nothing really is going to affect it unless I think he said, like if you're working on a carburetor or something, like you're like really close to a big engine that can mess with it.
Yeah, I think that, I'm about to say the least.
Yeah, but like a metal detector actually won't really do anything to it, especially the modern ones. But the security doesn't like it, so they're just like, okay, go around and I'll like wand you or whatever.
Yeah.
So they freak out about it, and then.
Do you ever tell them you can't wand me either? They'll set it off. You're like, oh, what do I do?
No, because then they'll like want to do the search.
Ooh, I forgot about that. Sorry, never mind.
Yeah, I get searched every single time, so I'm okay. I'm used.
What? You?
Yeah, I never told you. I was when I was at JANA, when I was at the museum, I bought a ticket for there's this imam in Washington D.C.
Oh, jeez.
He got arrested after 9/11 for being Muslim, basically, by the FBI. And I bought him, and he was an amazing guy. He's this Puerto Rican rapper who worked with young African Americans to get him off the streets. Because he was from prison. He was a really great guy. Anyway, I bought his one-way ticket from Washington to LA, and then another one-way ticket from LA to San Francisco for his next speaking gig with my own personal credit card. And from that moment on, I've been on every watch list. So when I ever go through security at the airport, I always get double checked, and I get the bomb on the bomb prints, the bomb powder on my hands.
Yo, are you serious?
Every single time. So Yeah, and then I also try to get the clear view or whatever, those like the passes to be able to go through like security lines. I failed.
Oh, I bet, man.
I couldn't go, so I have to go. So like while my like coworkers or whoever could go through like the other lines, I'm like, or my family, I'm just like, go. I'll meet you at the terminal. I'm fine.
Oh man, you know what, Koji? Now we have to fly somewhere. I just want to see that shit happen.
The secondary.
So you can't get TSA pre-check, can you?
No, I can't get pre-check now.
Did they tell you why? Like
no,
when you
they just said I didn't pass, that I can't do the security the pre-checks or anything like that. Yeah, it's pretty crazy. But I can't. The only thing I could think of was me buying those tickets, because after that everything kind of changed. Before that, I never got any kind of.
No, that totally makes sense.
You know,
they want to make sure you're not a sleeper.
But it was crazy because that guy was amazing. I mean, he's like my hero. So I don't mind. It's like, it's just an inconvenience for me ultimately. But I do get in trouble sometimes when I'm like, I bring like, one time I brought ranch into Australia, and you're not supposed to bring ranch in Australia, you know, like because of my double check, I got caught for like, you know, bringing ranch and produce into Australia.
Hold on a second. Ranch
dressing.
Ranch dressing, yeah.
Why is ranch dressing not allowed?
Because it's like a milk product. But it wasn't like intentional. Like my girlfriend at the time was like asking me to bring it. And so I just like did, and then when I filled out the forms, I didn't think about like ranch as being part of like milk products.
Yeah, it's dressing. Oh,
so and then I got in a lot of trouble and I had to pay a fine and blah blah. Anyway, sorry.
Oh.
Well,
Why do they care about milk products?
I don't know.
Right.
I think it might be like something like like in Hawaii, you can't bring in like produce or, you know, things like that.
Yeah, but that's because there's parasites or something.
Yeah,
to worry
exactly.
about.
Exactly. I don't know how. God, ranch dressing being a dairy product.
Like in a bottle.
Yeah, I was like, yeah, it wasn't open. It's like a totally.
Was it organic?
I don't know. I have no idea what it was.
Because I really wonder about just how much real milk is in ranch dressing that you buy at the store. You know,
Yeah,
I can't imagine there's enough to make it that big of a deal.
Yeah.
We have to do an episode of this, Koji.
Okay.
I gotta more about this.
All right. Well, thank you, Margaret, so much for your.
This has been it's been great. It's been great.
Yeah.
It's been very eye opening, and thank you so much for sharing your story. I feel like this is one of the good ones because it's.
Well, it's real.
It's very real, and
So
it's not contrived. So thank you so much. That's from the bottom of my heart.
So we're asking people for this episode to call our voicemail 626-427-7436, and I'll leave the number. I said it really fast. I'll leave the number in the show notes. But
say it again.
626-427-7436, and basically what we're doing is we're asking people to share their best or worst moments on their own. Make it short though, because we don't want it. I'm not going to listen to a long message from you. And if we really like your message, we'd love to have you come on the show.
Yeah. 15 seconds tops, guys, just because we get so much. It doesn't take long to we're not trying to be mean, but just for efficiency's sake.
Yeah, tell us the gist. Tell us the gist about what happened. But thank you so much, Margaret. We really appreciate it. And thank you, Martin, for everything always. And thank you guys for listening. We really appreciate it. And have a great night, evening, day, whenever you're listening.
Wherever you are.
Bye, guys.
See ya.